And it's recording.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to today's webinar, Reaching Customers Online with Google. I'd like to remind you that this is the second of a three-part series that we are doing, and I'm going to paste into the chat area a copy of the information for our next webinar, which will be on July 8th from 1 until 2:40 in the afternoon. Feel free to go to the registration link and sign up. I'm John Keplinger, and I'm going to be the moderator for today's session. I'm a SCORE volunteer, and we are partnering with Google to offer you today's webinar. My job as a moderator is to monitor the Q&A throughout the entire time. So feel free to put your questions in the Q&A area or in the chat area. Occasionally, I may post some information in the chat area as well, so keep an eye out for that. We will pause occasionally for questions throughout. I understand there's been a number of questions submitted ahead of time, and our presenter has those, and she'll incorporate those into her presentation as she goes. We are recording this, and we will be sending out a link to the recording shortly after this. It may be a day or two before we do so, but I will be working on that at the end of today's session. I'd like to now introduce our speaker. Cheri has been a SCORE mentor since 2017, and she's currently the owner of Hannah Gold Communications. She's been doing that since 1991. Her marketing expertise reaches far and wide, and today she's going to explain the Google and how you can use it to boost your business and get found on the web. I'd also like to indicate that Cheri is a certified Google expert, and so we're very fortunate to have her here with her expertise. So with that, I will turn it over to Cheri.
Thanks, John. Welcome, everybody. It's my pleasure to be here talking about the Google, as John and I like to call it fondly back and forth. So today's webinar is on Google and many of the tools that Google uses. And when I say Google to small business clients, their eyes glaze over or they shiver in fear. I'm going to try to dispel some of those myths for you today and take away a little bit of maybe the intimidation that you have if you're not already using Google. If you've already ventured to that Google page and you want to go ahead and launch that now, I'll show you some things that we can do to maximize that page and to make it work even better for your business. But here's how we're going to break it down today. We're going to talk about how Google helps you reach your customers. And that's on several different platforms that may not necessarily be Google name branded, well, like YouTube, for example, but we're going to figure out what it is that Google is for and how we can use it better. We're going to look at some of the resources that Google makes available to us for free. Everything I'm talking about today are free tools. And we'll see some tools that are maybe not as popular or well-known, like Google Trends. I won't spend a lot of time on those because I think there are more important tools to talk about. We'll then talk about advertising. And again, don't run away at the end because anyone can advertise. I can help you and I'll show you how to play the Jenga game to be able to advertise on Google and to potentially be at the top of the Google search, which is what you want. At the end, as John said, we have set aside some time for questions, so don't run off. Again, submit those questions in the Q&A box. John will track those. And if you sent some to me in registration, I also have those handy. So with that, if there's nothing else, let's get started. All right, so section 1 has to do with how Google helps, and we'll just say your business reach customers. I have a short little video here, and this will kind of highlight the process that searchers, your customers, go through if and when they need your services. But I want you to think about the last time you had to do potentially a mobile search for something that you needed critically at the time. For me, it was a new mailbox when mine got mown down yesterday. And think about how you would go about searching for that item or that service that you're going to need. The transfer here is a little bit clunky. I apologize. I'll try to get back into you as soon as this video is done. It runs about 1 minute and 37 seconds.
All the time, how do I get into work?
There we go. So now that is quite, let me get back to my screen. That is quite a cool video. And it actually does kind of look like Google is trying to sell you advertising. But that's not all they're about. And that's why I want to talk to you today. So think about the last time you had to search for something in one of those situations, for example. So in my case, it was pickleball shoes near me. All right. I was in Charlottesville, Virginia. I had the opportunity to play pickleball, which some of you on this call know how much I enjoy that, but I didn't have a paddle. And you don't really want to show up at a drop-in pickleball without a paddle. So I got the Google up and I searched pickleball paddle, or it was shoes, pickleball shoes near me, and not just pickleball shoes near me. This is important for what we're going to talk about later. I typed pickleball shoes near me, size 10, A6, and then the zip code, which also was near me. And Google brought me search results that showed me size 10 pickleball shoes near me. Now, they might not have been the same brand or whatever, but Google guessed how closely do you want me to get? And the closest place that had anything related to pickleball shoes happened to be a Nike store outlet, which was 8 miles away. Got the shoes, got to play. That's just an example, one way of how I did the Google. And I actually used YouTube, which is owned by Google and the #2 search engine in the country, to learn how to change a headlight on my van the other day. So it's not just about ads. What Google does is it helps you to connect with customers in the moment that matters. So if someone needs something, they're going to search for it. Most of them, as we're learning, are going to search for it online. And one of the biggest platforms out there is Google, okay? So think about the last major purchase you made. Did you search for that item or that category or reviews on that item or specifications on that item? Did you use Google search? Now, granted, some of us are using a Bing search tool, some use a Yahoo search tool, still valid, but we're only talking about Google, and Google is the one we're talking about because that's the one most people are using. So as you were taking that user journey and you were looking for something to buy, whatever it was, some of you probably went directly to the website. You said, no, I know I want a new car. I'm going to the website. Some of you may have had a store in mind, but you pulled up Google just to get a map or just to get directions to the location that was nearest you. The point is, billions of searches happen each month, and there's some sources at the bottom there on the bottom left side, not readable, but I'll send them to you later if you're really interested for these statistics. But billions of local searches happen each month. I think that's safe to say. We can all agree on that. 4 out of 5 consumers use a search engine like Google to find the store address, the hours, the directions, and if the Google page is set up nicely, the website. All right. But even now with the pandemic, and I think that this may have been a little bit old, it's 2017, but I'd have to say that probably 60%, 60 to 65% of transactions still happen at the local store. And that's because people have evolved their websites. Our businesses have evolved to be able to serve customers at their location safely and securely. And some have set up carry out or packaging to go, a lot of different things. Point is, lots of people looking for lots of stuff, lots of times. And your goal is to show up there. Let's talk a little bit about a Google search and how it works and what's behind it. So when I go to my search bar and I type in pickleball shoes, women's size 10, Google has already done the research for me. So they have what are called bots, B-O-T, or web crawlers. And I like to think about them like a little Roomba vacuum for the World Wide Web. So the Roomba starts and it says, oh, look, a page on pickleball shoes. Oh, look, a page that says women's size 10 pickleball shoes. Oh, look, a page that says ASICS pickleball shoes. So what it's doing and has done before I even was, thinking about pickleball shoes is this web crawler, Google's crawler called the Googlebot, looks at all of the pages of all of the websites out there and sorts them into a usable pattern. Some of my listeners, and this was brought to my attention last time, not everyone knows what the Dewey Decimal System or the card catalog at the library is. But imagine a card catalog at the library and you open the drawer and the cards are arranged and they're sorted by the name of the author, the subject, pickleball shoes, the location, Charlottesville, Virginia, the subject matter, there's so much information. That's what a Google crawler or a Google bot is doing. It is looking, this is where it gets important, it is looking at your website and it is crawling your website. So when someone does a search and the words that are on your website show up in that search or they type them in that search, that's how you get found. So I can't emphasize enough the importance of your website. Okay, we're talking about Google tools and how they work, but they actually help you do better with your website. So we have had them search the whole World Wide Web, and they have sorted, Google has sorted this into usable bits of data. To do that, they organize it and it's stored in what's called an index. Index cards, if you think of when you had to give speeches in high school and you had to write index cards out. Well, Google has a similar way of sorting things. Remember, like in the card catalog, it could be sorted by title, if I'm looking for the specific title of a business or an organization. Could be sorted by address. Anyone ever type a search and say near me? That's a great one. Put that on your website. It could be sorted by newness of information. Google loves it when you add new things to your website. You don't even have to add new things. You can just go in there and move things around, and you will still get a little boost in your searches from Google. So that index organizes it by page content and other factors, and that's how it allows us to search. Now, keep in mind, there's hundreds of billions of web pages out there. And if it were not for this, we would have more than 4 million. We usually get around 4 million results if you type in marketing. We'd have a lot more than 4 million results to sift through. So this is really a good thing for your business. It allows you to pick those words and phrases that you want people to use to find you, and you get them on your website so Google can find them. All right, so when they search anything by word, by keyword, I'll talk about keywords in a minute, by sentence, by question, if you put a question mark at the end, with quotes, if you want exactly those words, Google pulls that information. To be found, your website has to have that information or something very close to it, which that person searched for. Let me give that a pause because that was a really long sentence. When someone searches for your goods or services, they might search by name, Cheri Bales or Hannah Gold, or they might search by marketing. And you would get different sets of results depending on what your customer searches for. So I couldn't care less what you think. Well, that's not exactly true. I would much prefer you to work on your website to make it look like what the customer is looking for, rather than to make it look like what you think it should be. And we'll talk about that on the way through this journey that we're taking today, that your website is your biggest search engine tool and is going to shake hands with Google quite well. So here's what happens. I enter a search query, and no, those aren't actually me entering them. That's animated. I type in whatever I'm looking for. Here's what Google shows me. All right. So you and I are the searchers right now. We've just done a Google search and we're searching for blue line, green line. No, the blue lines that you see in the illustration. So that'd be above, there's a blue, then a green, then a gray box for those that are on a small screen. The blue line is the URL or the website address for the particular business or article or page that shows up in the search results that they want to present to you. So they're saying, hey, here's some URLs. What do you think? Do any of these suit you? And if you look on the right, just a quick preview, the box with the stars and the gray box and the two gray boxes, that's what your Google My Business profile page looks like. And that's where it shows up when someone searches for your business. You'll see the actual details in there. A lot of customers say to me, I can't find my Google. No, you can't. You're not the target audience. You have to use your admin tools to get there. And I'll show you where those are. So then the green line, which I said it goes blue, green, gray, in here is actually the page title. And that page title might have all the words that you searched for, or it might say missing pickleball. All right, so maybe cross trainers or court shoes popped up in my particular search. But that will have the page titles and it will say, hey, is there anything on here that you like? Is there anything that looks like what you are looking for? And if so, your search is done. You can move on. Quick show of hands, even though I can't see you. How many of you ever look at the second page of the Google search results? Okay, just wondered. All right, the third item then, we have the blue line, the green line, and the gray line. Thank you, Betty Ann. The gray column, gray part is the description. This is where you get to read a little bit about where they're sending you. And if it looks like where I intended to go, they have, at least like pickleball, shoes, Nike, court near me, right? Zip code, then I'm good to go. All right. So that's the description. That gives me a little bit more information. So you see how much people are finding out about my service or my business before they even get there. Then comes that business profile on the right-hand side. That will show up if your business matches the search criteria. And so here's where enter Google My Business into the equation. You've got your website and it's doing all its SEO and the bots have crawled and they found and they're sending the right results. You have another opportunity to use those same keywords, phrases, sentences, products, and services and give people a shortcut to learn about your business. And that's called your Google profile or your Google business page. We'll talk about that in a minute too. But so that's kind of a thumbnail of what that business profile would look like. All right, so also within these search results, you may see ads. And in the video, when we looked at the video just a minute ago, we saw some ads for hair dryers popped up. Yes, that line across the center there of square boxes with blue, green, gray, those will actually be pictures of products that match your search results that you can purchase. Some will be nearby, some will be online, some will be in China. That's your problem. Google says, here's some search results. This is what we found. If you want to buy it now, click here. Your chances as a small business owner are not as good at getting into that shopping ads section as Home Depot, Menards, Target, but you can get there. So if you are running a Google ad for a product and you have the right search terms and the right product that people are looking for, there's no reason your ad wouldn't show up here. So it's kind of a Jenga game with, I got to spend $1 more than the guy ahead of me to get in front of him and get my results showing here. All right, great. So that's what those are. I just want to identify the components. And then underneath that, it says text ads. And you see there's starts with a blue line, then a green line. And next to the green line, there's a little tiny ad, AD. And a funny story, I had a friend who I contracted with to do some work. We're still friends. And she did not want that little icon next to her physical therapy practice post. And I said, why? And she goes, because I want people to come to my website, not look at an ad. So let me explain. When it says ad next to a text ad or any place in that Google search results, that means that company has paid for the right to show up in first place. They have bought and paid for and bid on, if you will, the search terms that you entered to find that product or service. So pickleball shoes, women's, ASICS size 10, ad Nike store, 8 miles away, pickleball, shoes, women's, 10s. I'm done. Here's the game to get your business to show up there. And it's not out of reach. It's not horrendously expensive if you play the game, and I'm going to give you some tricks. Finally, remember that page 2 thing, the related searches. How many of us even get to the related searches? You ever scroll that far down and go, well, that's pretty close. Let me see what they have there. Yeah, me and Betty Ann, we're the only ones that are looking at that. Thank you. Okay, so, but that's more information again for your searcher that could lead them somewhere else. So we want to be at the top of those search results, or we want to maybe pay some money to get an ad to be at the top of those search results. And the way we do that is to make sure we have the words and phrases that people will be using when they search for us and try to find us. So this page is actually called the search results page, and it's all of the pages prior to this are the search results page. It's what you get when you type a search into the Google search bar. Whew, all right, how fun is that? So you can do some of this on your own. I think it's probably a good idea to not try to do both, but there is a built-in activity that you can open google.com and search for your business. And you should do that. And if you show up and you don't have a business listing, then you should get one. All right. And if you show up and you do have a business listing, but you've never seen it and you haven't done anything with it and you're not sure who owns it, That could be a different issue. But when you search for your business, who else shows up? And think about it again. Remember, I said, I don't care how you feel about your website. Think about what your customer would search. Would they type in cardiothoracic surgery, or would they say open heart surgery near me? I know cardiothoracic surgery is the right phrase, and I should use that on my website for people who want to have confidence that I know that's what it is. But if no one is searching for it with those terms, your job is to guess, to deduce, because there's some science to it. Your job is to deduce what they're using for search terms and then put those search terms on your pages. All right, let's talk about how to do that. So the next session here is going to present a few of the resources out there that will help you appear across Google. And I'm pretty sure that the number one on my list anyway is the Google My Business profile. I want you to notice the third word there is free. A Google My Business profile does not cost you money. Doesn't cost you money to get one, doesn't cost you money to verify it, and it doesn't cost you money to use it. Now, to all of the marketing folks out there who are selling a Google My Business package, okay, great. $250 to set up a Google My Business page and run your verification is ridiculous, just ridiculous. I have walked clients through this in a matter of 15 minutes. So, but you got to go to google.com/business to see if you have a business page. And if you do, then you're going to be ahead of the game. And we're just going to be freshening it up. We're going to be saying, fill in some blanks here, there. So yay for you. If you don't, I'm also going to show you how to work that process. And amazingly, I was able to do 2 clients this week and get immediate cell phone verification. It was really, really taking a long time to get those postcards to verify. So we'll talk about that also in a little bit more. So these are your organic search results. The results. This is someone typing in yoga near me, or yoga classes, or yoga in the Kingstown, Fort Belvoir area of Alexandria, Virginia. Notice that in their ad, they have the area in the call out here, which looks like a cell phone, the top part of that's awfully small. That's what they ran. That's what they wrote in their ad in their Google business page. So Google is going to show relevant original content. One of the best ways to get relevant and original content on your website is by using a blog. Okay, so we're talking about 2 tools that really work symbiotically together. We're talking about Google, and we're talking about your website. In order for Google to find your website, it has to be a living, breathing creature. Updating it, changing things, adding blog content every month, adding new photos. Those are all great ways to signal to Google bots, hey, I did something new, come find it, and they will. All right. So again, appearing in organic results, if we're looking for something near me, the logical organization would be to show you vendors or businesses or services or products near you. Another good way is to have good page titles and descriptions. So if this is looking at my website, this is showing my website in the Google search box here, annasoulyoga.com. I must have some good page titles and descriptions matching what people are looking for. And page titles and descriptions, not all of us are web people, but I'll throw this out there. They're your H1, your titles, your H1, your H2, your H3 headers on your web page. You should never just blow up the text and add bold. You should always use those styled headers, because that's what the Google bots know and love. So that's what the bullet number 3 means there with good title pages and descriptions. Optimized images, it's really important that you don't slow the user process down. So to be in organic results means someone is looking for what you have to offer and they don't know your name. Organic, they're looking for the product category, or they might be looking for a particular service, or they might be looking geographically or regionally, but they don't necessarily know your name. And that's why we call them organic. So having an optimized image could be the difference. Let's say that someone built your Wix website for you, and at the very top of your website, the first third of the page is this beautiful video. And it's, maybe 12 seconds, not really long or anything. And when you look at it on a mobile phone, all you see is a gray square. Or when you look at it on a mobile phone, it takes 7 seconds to buffer and load, and everybody's gone by then. When's the last time you sat through that buffer load fancy website video intro page thing? We just don't. We're too busy or anxious or something. So optimizing your images helps your load time. So if you have a picture and it's 2000 by 2000 pixels and you want to put it on your website, maybe bring it down to like 400 by 400. Check your website best practices, and that will help your page load faster, which means people won't run away so quickly. And that's the whole goal, is to keep people on your website for a little bit longer time so they can make a purchase. Finally, make sure your website is optimized for mobile. If your site is 13 years old and it's built with GoDaddy or Wix or MySpace, it's probably not very mobile friendly. Good way to check it is to open it on your desktop, or open it on your phone, obviously. But if you're working on your website from the desktop, and then just pull your window to this width and then see if it looks like a mobile website. If all you see is half of each line, you are not optimized for mobile, and you are likely losing 60% of your search results just because of that one thing. So write that down. Check your website. This is all about your website stuff. Make sure that your images are optimized for fast load time and that your entire website is compatible with mobile devices, because that's the worst thing you could do, to shoot yourself in the foot like that. Okay, here's some tools. And I know John dropped these links into the chat box. You'll just need to copy and paste them. They don't let us give you hot links, apparently. This one is, you don't use it all the time, but yeah, I think I would run my site through there if I've never done it before. So you just go to geek.co/testmysite, enter your domain, which is your homepage URL. And this tool will zoom through and it will say, this is good, and this is really slow. A second tool is Google Search Console. Okay, I'm going to skim these because these aren't the good ones. Okay, these are okay. They're good for setup and they're good for analytics, but these aren't the ones I want you to focus on. So the Google Search Console, I've never used it. It sounds really interesting though. So you can go there and type in your name and stuff. Again, these are all going to be free. And then this one I really like. This is the most important tool besides Google My Business that you can find. And this shows behavior on your website. Okay, so it's Google Analytics. Google Analytics is the data collection tool that's attached purposefully to your website. And it will tell you how many users you have, where they came from, which pages they clicked on, how long they stayed on a page. And pretty much you can track and monetize and create conversions for anything you want. But you have to attach Google Analytics to your website. And they give you some handy little tags. You go to your website designer and you have them paste them in on the proper pages. That's really what it is. I have never myself taken a Google Analytics tag and put it on my website because I don't do that. I read them, I interpret them, I create strategy based on them, but I don't actually install the tag. That's something that if you did your own website, I'm pretty sure you can figure out. And if not, you want to check with your website developer. All right, what else do we have here? Google Trends. If you know your audience, I'm not sure you need Google Trends. So I'm working with a brand new client who's a um, retired federal employee and who is now selling real estate. And that's a common transfer to second and third careers. And he says, should I use Google Trends to find what people are searching for? And I said, well, what do you sell? He goes, well, I sell property and I like to get listings. And I said, well, you already know what you need to say, property and listings. And so, you could use this. Again, not one of my favorites, not spend a lot of time here. There's the web link if you want to go and play with it. And I'm not minimizing the importance of any of these tools. They all provide you with excellent data and information as you move forward. I'm just saying that I have favorites, and so these are not them. And again, you can try this, but I think now that I've given you the GCO/trends website, that's something maybe that you'll want to do later. And we'll save this kind of period of time here for moving through the exciting tools. All right, John, did I have a stop right here for any questions?
You had to stop earlier. We blew through the stop sign.
Okay.
Okay, so a couple things, and I think you've covered a good number of these, but one of the questions related to making sure they had the right and best keywords and hashtags for search engine optimization. I think you've covered that. Is that correct, pretty much?
I believe I will cover it more, but in a nutshell, the best way to determine your search terms and the SEO phrases and sentences you need to use is to think about your customer. And you can even pull together a focus group, get 5 or 6 friends, relatives, whatever, and say, what words and phrases would you type into a web search if you were looking for me or my business? And then take those words and phrases, expand on them. Think about spelling. People aren't the best spellers when they're doing a quick search on their phone. So maybe somewhere buried in your alt text or in a photo caption somewhere, spell that item just that weird way that a lot of people might spell it. Let me give you an example. I worked with a golf car company, and we all know the little things you drive around on the golf course as golf carts with the T, CARTS. That's not what they're called. In the industry, they are called golf cars, CARS. So we were faced with the task of, do we say golf cars on our website so the industry knows that we know what we're talking about, or do we say golf carts on the website so the common person shopping for one of those can find us? Well, it came down to be kind of a compromise. So in a few places, like used carts for sale, that would say carts. In a place where it says the industry standard in golf cars, it would say cars. Some of the photos would be captioned golf cars. Some of the other photos would be captioned golf carts. And then within all of the additional keywords we use, golf cars near me, used golf car, 4-cylinder, wait, that's cars, gas, electric golf car, used golf car, all the things we thought people would be looking for that would make us money. I don't want to spend money on driving someone to my blog unless they're going to buy something there. All those words that we thought could make us money, that's the words we instilled on that website and then subsequently on that Google My Business page. So the word combinations are endless. When you get to advertising, the word you choose makes a difference because someone else is maybe willing to pay more for that, and you might have to pick a different word as your favorite word. But if you approach SEO and pretend that you are an ignorant customer who can't spell and you don't know exactly what you're looking for, I think that would do it. That would be a really great place. That's really a simplified explanation of SEO. It sounds like, I had a handyman come out yesterday and I said, I'll barter with you for, blah, blah. And then I explained that SEO to him just like that. And he went, wow, that really makes sense. I was putting up things that I thought were important to say, but those were industry buzzwords. Those weren't the people's common search terms. Does that help, do you think, John?
Yes, I believe so. Here's another question. The Google My Business generic listing, which I want to claim, has my old business address. How do I get the address changed to my new address before starting the claim the listing process?
Oh, good question. Is that from Hot Yoga?
It's from Ralph.
Okay, I have someone else asking that same question, so that's a great question. So basically, once you claim your page, you have the ability to change it, modify it, update it, change the name of the business. But each change you make will be re-verified by Google. Now, it might be that fast and it might be 3 hours. So don't wait till the last minute if you want to change your hours, is kind of the thing. But when you are changing an address, chances are good that they will ask you for another sort of verification. And the address, it might need to be like a utility bill or a business rental contract agreement. um, they might, I don't know what they're doing now. Like I said, I got this instant approval the other day. You might be able to change your address and they can call and text the business phone and verify your address. But the short story is, yes, you should be able to modify an existing page that you have claimed and verified and owned to fit your new data, your new business data. Everything on the Google page should be editable. The only thing you really don't get a whole lot of choice is with the business category that they force on you.
And then just a little follow on that. This same person wonders, do they need to create a separate Google My Business page under each particular name that they want?
I wouldn't create a Google My Business page for a business that I don't operate currently. So I would not make a new page and let the old one archive itself, because the old one is still going to be out there unless you actually cancel or discontinue that page. If you have multiple businesses with the same name in different markets, I would create a business location page. So under the Google My Business, it has a place for locations, and you can then create those pages underneath the umbrella of your main address or your main business location. Is that clear?
All right, I have one more, and then we can move on. And I'm still compiling them.
Okay, great.
This one you've had before, I believe. They're a service-based business, and they have a virtual office. When setting up a business profile, it doesn't allow them a virtual office location.
Yeah,
How can they still set up a business profile and list the areas that they serve within the county and all states?
absolutely. So here it is. You can't have a Google My Business page if you are a transient or seasonal business. I think that's stupid, and I'm not afraid to tell them. I actually did. I'm a Grow with Google partner, so I have some pipelines to feedback. Here's what we got to think about. You started that business, and if you have a DBA or an LLC or any sort of business licensure, you had to use an address, right? So that address may be, as it is for me, your home. Perfect. Now, here's the thing they don't tell you. You have to put that address in order to be verified. But once that address has been verified, there will show up a little box that says hide this address from view. So if you have business status with an address, a home address is perfectly fine. You can get that Google My Business page. If you do not run your business through an address, if you have a PO box or a non-street address, you will not be able to get it. So my workaround, and what I've been telling folks on these webinars, is if you have a business status, a license of some sort, you have a business address. So go ahead and put that in there. And then once you get approved and you get everything verified, then you can go in and hide that address from the public.
All right.
Good news?
Yeah, and my comment out to Gigi, Just let me know if we have to go a little bit further into detail, and if so, we'll get into that as we get a little bit further on in the presentation. So
Okay.
feel free to send me a note whether or not we need to continue to address it.
All
Why don't you
right.
go ahead, Cheri?
Perfect. Let's keep going. How are we doing on time? I lost my stopwatch on the wrong side of the table. Okay, good. So now we're going to pivot into advertising. And again, remember I told you not to run away because it's okay. You don't have to sell your soul to advertise on Google. I'm going to show you some ways that the common everyday small business can use advertising with Google. But first, another video. All right, I'll be back to you. This one's also about a minute. Oops, that's not going to work. I'm going to have to go to this one. One moment, please. You would think that the Google slides would be perfect, wouldn't you? Let's watch this one on YouTube. Sorry, guys. They're usually much more responsive than that. Hit it.
I deployed to Afghanistan in 2007. Being there was the hardest part of my life. My stress level was through the roof. Yoga made me realize that I could be able to handle those stressful moments, that anxiety, and I wanted to share that with the military community. So when I decided to open a yoga studio, it was really important to get as many people as possible through our door, not only to help them, but also because we had to pay our bills. My goal was to get people to call us because we knew if we could talk to them, it would be easier for them to show up and come through our front door. It's actually pretty magical because since we've launched our Google Ads, our phones started ringing off the hook. I know my ads are working when more people than normal are walking through the door, when the number of intro offers that we're selling have doubled. And in result, we had to add 10 new classes a week. We had to hire more staff. What I love about Google Ads is that when I'm super busy at work, I can just check my phone and I can instantly track my results. As a small business owner, it's bigger than just you. It's about the families you impact, your employees, your own community.
I have somewhere I can let my guard down, and everybody else is here for a common reason.
Everybody that I've met here, and they were looking for something in their life to help them, either physically, emotionally, spiritually.
Our work makes such an impact on so many lives. We're so lucky that we get to do this. I like to say that I started a community center for adults, and we just happen to do yoga here.
Aww. All right, let's make sure that doesn't come back. So there you go. That is an example of a pretty small business using Google Ads to boost their business. So, and you think about now some of the ways that they brought in business. They brought in people that were veterans. They brought in moms. They really talk about the community and how they reached all of these people. But they all have one thing in common. They saw the ad, they went to the website, they made the purchase, if you will. So I'm going to talk to you today about how to set up an ad campaign using that smart ads feature. She said we wanted to get more calls. That was our goal. We'll talk about goals. But first I want to talk about a little bit about where ads can appear. And I actually learned one more new one today. Ads can appear pretty much anywhere out there. Any platform that Google has a hand in, they can show ads on. So your ad, let's say you have one, might show up in the Google search network. Remember, like we showed, the one that's in the blue box on the left-hand side there, it has a little ad word next to it. So that's a good example of just a straight up text ad. You also might get it on a Google display network, somewhere where someone is working in Google. And I remember Hangouts used to have a feed down the side like Facebook ads. So it could show there. You know what, before I go there, it could show up on YouTube. It could show up on a cell phone app. It could show up on a streaming network. So when you think about Google Ads, and a lot of times people go, well, you know, I can't serve anyone outside my own area. You don't have to worry about it. Google knows where to show those ads. And if you say, I only serve people in a 40-mile radius, they're only going to show those ads to people in a 40-mile radius who could potentially be your customers. And it's based on other things like search terms too, we know. All right, here is how we start a smart campaign. And I'll buzz through this. It's a step-by-step. I don't expect that you'll want to follow along, but you're certainly welcome to. If you've been in the Google Ads platform before, you'll be a little bit more adept, but it's the concept of why they have a smart campaign that I hope to get across to you here. So they allow you to set up and run ads, and of course they would, in just a few steps, but you are totally in charge of the ads. You customize, you change, you make new budgets, you pick new audiences. Don't be afraid. Here's how to do it. So we're going to go to Google Ads. I showed you the URL there just before that. And they're going to say, here, let us help you. Tell us about your business. What is your business name? Okay, that's a pretty straightforward one. Enter that. And what is your business website? Now here, I would use my homepage just because they're going to create an ad based on the entire website then. If I only want to talk about one yoga class, then that would be the website link I would put there. But we'll come back because we can change that later. And I'm going to call that the call to action. And that's where we say, hey, potential customer, click here and you can come and buy our product or service. So then remember the lady in the yoga said her goal was to get more calls. For most of my clients, get more calls is the main advertising goal. Get more visits to your physical location is ramping up again right now in particular, and get more website sales or signups is quite often reserved for events or people with an online e-commerce store. So let's assume that we're a small business and our goal is to get more calls. And you could see just under the gray box with the 3 choices there, there's a blue line that says experienced with Google Ads. They love to suck you in and say, here, if you think you're good, come on, give it a try. Don't go there. Just don't go there. Just follow the smart campaign. All right, now, okay, here is that business address thing. So we're going to define a radius around the business, or, and you might have a different view of this. I forgot to mention that your tools may not look exactly like this one. It could be Mac, PC, desktop, mobile, iPad. You're going to get a slightly different view. But again, in the smart campaign that we're creating, it wants you to choose a radius. Later, we can go back and pick specific zip codes if we want. They decided this wasn't really a good idea to force us to do a radius because I sell everywhere. But for now, you can choose that, or you can put, and to the right of the blue highlighted, it does say set up specific areas. Keep in mind, we can go backwards, we can change them. So if you just want to put a 20-mile radius of your business, then put it in there. I do want to bring note to the little call out box on the right-hand side that says potential audience size. Right now, in a 15-mile radius around this business, the yoga store, there are 97,389 potential people per month that could be interested in this ad. So that's what they're guessing. Some of you were around when we did newspaper advertising and we'd say, what's your circulation? They say 50,000 and then we go, okay, only half open it and read it. So that's 25,000, that's our reach. That's what this number is. It says there's 97,389 people likely to drive by your ad like they're driving down the highway and they see a billboard. That doesn't mean that 97,000 people are going to click, or more importantly, that you're going to have to pay for 97,000 clicks. All right, so I want you to point that out. So then you can add your specific area, like I said, and you'll see that it will do, if you do a city, it will only do the city. So I prefer if you are like in a radius, that I would use the radius versus the specific area. And you might have to enter in 18 zip codes just to cover the area here that they're showing. However, when we add Alexandria in the 1, 2, 3rd line here, where do you want your ad to appear? We add specific areas: Alexandria, Springfield, Bellhaven, Grovetown, Rose Hill, and Franconia. My audience, potential audience size goes up to 2,415,000. So you can play with that, play with it back and forth, see which one you like the results of the most, and use that one. And remember, we can go back and change it. Okay, most of us are advertising in English, but they do give us the option to choose ads in different languages. So if you have a target audience who speaks a different language, perhaps you want to consider running an ad in that language in addition to the English version. So once you build this ad, another quick takeaway, once you build this ad, you can make another one and another one all under the same ad, and they'll just decide which audience to show which one to. So that's kind of cool. All right, this is where you don't get a lot of flexibility, is in the choose category, but this is the next page that's going to pop up, and this is describing the product or service. Google has made up their own business categories, and we know there could be just unlimited amounts. And so they have said, look, we got to sort it somehow. So we're going to focus on these categories, and you have to pick the one that's closest to you. But to make it up to you, you can choose products or services to promote. So that part up here, business category, you're not going to find probably the exact category. Pick something close. No one looks at that anyway. But when you get to down here and you get to choose specific products or services for this ad, then you're going to choose words. This is our yoga. We got, oops, sorry, went up too high. Bikram yoga, and I can't pronounce any of these. Prenatal yoga, family kids classes. Again, those are the words that your customers are using to search for to find you, not the words of the services you offer, because they might not be able to spell Bikram yoga. So you better have plain yoga on there. I almost said plain yogurt. Better have plain yoga on there too, for those of us that aren't, advanced in our yoga ways. All right, so then you get to write your ad. This should not be done in here. This should be done in Microsoft Word or somewhere. But if you don't want to write it, ta-da, they give you an ad. Remember I said that when you entered your website, they were going to pull this ad text from your entire website? That's what it is. It's your local yoga studio, Honest Soul Yoga, experienced instructors, and then a couple of sentences. The most important thing to notice here is the character limit. 30 characters on headline 1 and 2 and 3, and then 90 characters on the description 1 and 2. I don't use all caps. I don't use exclamation points. I don't use any more characters than necessary, because I want to use every single one of those 30 characters for my first sentence and every single one of those 30 characters for my second sentence. On the right, it says your ad preview. If you look there, the blue lines 1, 2, and 3 correspond to headline 1, headline 2, and headline 3 on the left. So if it breaks weird and you have a half a word here and a half a word on the third line, go back and change these around. What do you want people to see? So local yoga studio, that's a pretty good choice of a search term right there. So I'm good with that. Experienced instructors, yeah, I'm good with that. They got the name of the yoga studio, cool. Now here's what they're suggesting, and see our little green ad? I'm over here on the your ad preview still. They're suggesting yoga classes to help you get stronger and experience more joy. And they capitalize the initial cap on every word, and it makes me crazy. And the only thing that I can think about, the only reasoning I could come up with, is that it's for ADA readers, so that they recognize the break in each word and can precisely pronounce them. Otherwise, I don't know why capital letters on their initials. So you have all of this that you can work with. And then this bottom place right here where it says clicks on your ad go to, I clicked it. I would never spend money to send an let me rephrase this. I just said this to someone and I said it really well. Don't spend money on something that's not going to make you money. That's it. You're sending people to your homepage here. All right. What are you selling? You're selling yoga classes right here. Yoga classes. Send them to the yoga class page. Yeah. If you send me to your homepage and I don't find red pickleball shoes size 10 on your homepage, Nike, I'm probably not digging any better anymore because that's the words I typed. That's the search result I expect to get. So we want to use the words that they're going to use to find you. And then if you're spending money on an ad, don't take people someplace where they can't spend it, where they can't buy. Your goal with an ad is to make conversions, or in layman's term, to sell stuff. And if I send you to my homepage and there's no opportunity for me to sell stuff until I dig around and I go, oh, let's see, Bikram transitional prenatal, too much, I give up and I leave, you didn't get a chance to show me the classes. So this part's really, really critically important. Send people where you want them to go, to what you want them to buy. Don't spend money on brand awareness. I mean, unless you're Pepsi or Taco Bell or Jake from State Farm, your money on brand awareness is probably not going to return itself in terms of a return on your investment. You only want to spend money boosting posts, ads on Facebook, Google ads, I don't care what it is. You only want to spend money on advertising something that will make you money. Let me make sure that sinks in. Okay, speaking of money. All right, Google is going to say, well, we suggest that you spend $14 a day. Middle box here, we have 10, which they're like, you can, 14, 26, or big important blue box at the bottom, enter your own budget. Now, I'm going to explain what you're paying for, so you don't have to read all of that necessarily. But what I have to say about this is none of those numbers means anything to me unless I know how much my competitor is spending on an ad. And if my competitor isn't spending anything on a Google ad, then I can probably spend a lot less than $10 a day and get to the top of the search results for those particular words. So let me give you an example. I have a therapy, a counseling and life coach client. And she said, I could use a couple more clients this month. Let's do a Google ad. And I said, great, let's go look at your competition first. So we went to our Google search and we typed counseling in Battle Creek, counseling near 49017, counseling via telehealth, counseling. And, she was kind of there, but never really at the top of the results. So I said to her, I go, what's your one best money maker right now? What do you want to sell to make money? And she said, well, telehealth. And I said, okay. So we built this ad and we built it around the keyword telehealth, and we had it in there, not 18 times, maybe twice. And we launched the ad and we started it at $7 a day because she's a small one person, place. And I'll talk about scheduling in a second. And we hit that and we waited for it to apply and we typed telehealth near Battle Creek and she was the first one on the list. So then we went, well, that's pretty cool. Remember I said you could do another ad under the same ad set? I said, let's go back and do one for counseling in Battle Creek or counseling near Battle Creek. So we bought with our budget the keyword counseling and we already had Battle Creek. So then a few minutes later, go back, check the search results, #1 for counseling. So it's a game. I say it's like a Jenga game. Let me talk to you about the finances right now. And this is really important because it seems like it's going to be expensive no matter what you do. And if you're not used to advertising, well, yeah, the $8 a day could be an expense. And I'm not saying that lightly. I believe that $8 a day is a hardship for most small businesses. But the good news is, let's use 10 because that's a nice round number. And let's say that I say to Google, I will give you $10 a day. They will spend no more than in a 30-day month, no more than 300, it says 304, no more than $300, okay? If I give Google, I'm going to repeat that. If I give Google a budget of $10 a day for the month of August, they will not spend more than a maximum of $304. Now, you might spend more than $10 on one day. If a lot of people are clicking, you don't want them to go, well, your $10 is up, man, you're done. No, they'll keep showing your ad. They'll just pull it from another day where there weren't as many clicks, okay? Clicks. A click is what happens when someone reacts to your call to action. So remember that link to visit your website? A click is someone going to clicks on your ad, go to your website. So if no one clicks, if your ad shows up, let's say I'm browsing for yoga and I still don't know how to spell it, and your ad shows up and I don't click on it to call you or to go to that website rather, you're not paying for that. You only pay when someone clicks the button to go to the website or clicks the button to call you. All right. So that $10 a day for 30 days, that might work out to be only like $250 a month. It may not be the full 300. So that's number one. That's important to know. Number two, I just mentioned this. Some days you might spend less than your daily budget. You might spend only $4. But some days you could spend $30. If traffic is hot and it's a Bikram yoga kind of day, lots of people are looking or somebody shared it on Facebook or whatever, you don't want Google to stop showing it. But the point is you will never pay more than $300, okay? Final thing on budget, you can change it whenever you want. You can reduce it, you can increase it, you can turn a Google ad on and off. You can schedule it in advance to run just during your open office hours. If your phone is, if it's call now is your call to action, I will only pay for those to run during the time someone can answer the phone. Does that make sense? And then again, underneath this, as you're building these ads, they're saying you can reach an estimated 17 to 29,000 people if you look up here at the $10 daily average, or get 230 to 400 ad clicks per month. 400 ad clicks, I can't afford for. You will not spend more than the $300 budget. And you can have a second ad that works under that budget as well. All right, at this page, you get to review it and it will have all of these windows that you can see on the right. It will have your estimated performance. It will have your campaign goal, which we said was either call or take me to someplace I can spend money. You'll have your locations. You'll be able to go back and edit that if you want to change it. And you see the blue edit button underneath the map here on locations. Same things with budget. Services, your ad, all have little blue ad edit buttons under them. That's because they want these ads to work for you. And so if you start an ad and you run the ad and absolutely nothing happens after, I wouldn't kick it to the curb before 2 weeks. I'd give it 2 weeks. Nothing happens, go in and change things. Change your daily budget, raise it. Change your lead-in sentence, change your descriptor, change your goal. You can change where the web link takes people. And then while you're in here, remember Google Analytics? They'll watch this for you and report on your ad campaign analytics as well in one platform, Google Analytics. So Google Analytics tells you how your website is doing, and it tells you how any Google ads you have are doing. And that's why Google Analytics is important. Here's some other advertising campaigns. Remember I mentioned the smart shopping where the product or service would show up here, example $9.99, $9.99. It's going to be tough to compete up there. It really is. If you have a product that lends itself visually and you wanted to do a video ad through the YouTube and the Google Display Network, then you could look at the youtube.com ads platform. YouTube is similar. I've not advertised on YouTube. I'll be quite honest. I have not had a client that needed it, but because it's owned by Google, I have to believe that that interface is fairly similar. All right, we have 208, 209, and I have recap and resources and a list of questions. Basically, this is what your homework is get your website search friendly, get the words on it that people are using to find you. If you can't put them forward facing like golf carts, put them in meta tags, descriptions, photo image titles, anything like that that you can do. Don't put a bunch of heavy text heavy or heavy image heavy. Don't put a bunch of image heavy things at the top of your website, because when people are loading it on a mobile device, that slows down, well, on a desktop too, but it just slows down the load of your page, and people just aren't very darn patient. Remember that. Remember to check for website for mobile compatibility. Your website needs to look as good on a cell phone or an iPad as it does on your desktop. Go take a look at those resources lists that John gave us. Like I said, my biggies are Google My Business, Google Analytics, and Google Ads. Consider online advertising. You know what? What's the worst that could happen? If you're very specific and you say, I want to get this customer to do this, to buy this, and complete the order, and you have the way for them to do that, it just could work. And then you can measure your return on investment by how much did I spend on an ad and how much did I make from the customer who came about as a result of that ad. So now I think these were in your email, but now I think we'll take as many questions as we can get through. And my email is on there. If something comes up that you know are pulling your hair out, give me a quick email and maybe I can help you. So, John, do you want to start questions or do you want me to launch mine?
Yeah, I guess we came up a little bit short with an earlier answer, Ralph,
I'm sorry.
related to the Google My Business listing with the old address, and he wants to claim the listing. What can he do?
Oh, that's new data.
Okay.
I was assuming that it was already owned. So if no one has ever claimed the listing, so you go into google.com/business, type it in, find your listing, it'll say enter your business. If no one owns it and it's never been claimed, walk away. If someone owns it and it's not you, report it as a duplicate page and then walk away. If you do not know the person who built the Google business page or they were a previous web designer or marketing person and you can't get a hold of them and you don't, then report the page and walk away. Yes, you have to put that information, that data into a new page, but Google will not be able to verify that business unless they can send you a postcard. And if the business has an old business address on it, you're better off, especially if you don't have control of it and it hasn't been verified, you're better off just ignoring it or letting it reporting it is best, because then they'll take it down and you won't be stuck with an old page out there. But sometimes, I have to say, I don't want to go into the ring with Google and try to battle them on something like that. I just don't think they're very flexible. But, certainly first thing you could do is try to claim it. And they might, when you click verify, they might give you the opportunity to verify through a text message. I can't believe I've gotten 2 of these in the last week and it just wasn't happening for anyone, which could get you around the having to send a postcard to your physical address. Then once you have it verified, then I think you'd be able to go in and edit that address and change your address. Oh, before I forget, I almost forgot this completely. Name, address, phone. This is critical to your web presence, to the presence of you everywhere on the web, that your name, your business address, your business phone are exactly the same, identical even. So if my address is 123 Google Lane and I type 123 Google Lane, then I need to use that everywhere. But chances are Google is going to say it's 123 Google capital L small n abbreviation for lane with no period. Even if there's a period after LN period, that's enough to confuse the Google bot. We don't want to confuse the Google bot. We want to make that easy. We want to leave him cookies. We want to feed the Google bot. And to do that, the critical thing for Google, because it's location based, is to have your name, address, and phone number identical across all of your platforms. So that was more than you asked, but yes, if you have not claimed that page, I would just walk away from it, or I would report it and ask them to close it, or I would try to verify it. And if they want to send it to your postal address, either get that person to give you the postcard when it arrives, or just forget about it and walk away.
Okay. Can you run a Google ad with just a Google My Business account, or do you need a website?
Well, that's a good question. What would be the purpose of a Google ad if there's no website? So is it just to advertise your product or your service or your business location? Then yeah, we can do that. But yes, you do have to establish your Google profile, which comes with the Google My Business page. And then in the controls of the Google My Business page, way down on the left-hand side of the navigation, you'll see run an ad. And even if you don't want to run an ad, you just want to look at it, you can go ahead and click on it. It doesn't make you run an ad.
I think I missed one earlier. If using ads and your budget runs out in the middle of the month, do you receive a notice?
You receive a bill. So Google will bill you either when you reach your billing threshold or when you run out of money. At that point, you or your marketing person needs to be on top of your ad, checking it every couple weeks and making sure. And then you either decide whether you want to add more money to that budget or if you want to reset and start a different ad. If you reset and start a different ad or you edit that ad out, the data that goes with that, the conversion data, how many clicks and where they went, will also go away. So it's always, in my mind, it's usually better to start a second ad if you're just trying to figure out which image works best. Oh yeah, after you set up the ad, go back in and edit because you can add an image. That's dumb too. And I can't show you that because it's not built into this presentation.
All right. Another one is, do Google Ads interface with Facebook and Instagram?
I don't have an actual qualifying answer for that, but I gotta think that they're not shaking hands because Facebook and Instagram are buddies. They're owned by the same company. And Google is a competitor. Google is an ad competitor, it's a social competitor, it's an analytics competitor. But I honestly don't have a true answer for you. I had never thought of that. That's a really good question. My gut instinct is probably not. I don't think a Google ad is going to show up on Facebook. The platforms are YouTube. I see them on cell phone apps like Cards, Euchre, Scrabble, things like that. I'll see ads that look like they're Google ads. And certainly any place that Google has display stuff going, but I don't think so.
Is there a separate pay for clicks for your website versus Google Ads?
You are paying for a click and you decide where it goes. So Google Ads says, we'll help you set up this ad and we'll charge you every time someone clicks the button that you tell us to put in here. That button that you're clicking is what's taking people to the website. So in essence, you're paying for a Google ad click to take people to your website, which is why you want to take them somewhere they can spend money, if you can, or learn more, or book an appointment, or contact us.
Okay. And I don't think that Lisa is still with us, but she had a question regarding spelling when you're doing keywords. And if you have a complicated name in your business, like concierge,
Mhm.
you run the risk that people have a difficult time spelling it correctly when they're trying to find you.
Yep. That goes back to your branding. I there where I play pickleball. In fact, I'm trying to make plans for later tonight. But where I play pickleball, there's a brand new business that opened across the street, and she has this just beautiful signage. There's a sign over this half of the business, and it's a double wide store. I can't make out the name of either sign. I don't know if it's Silo Home, which really didn't make much sense to me, or if it's Silk Home. I have no idea to this day what that business is called. You might want to think about changing concierge to assistant because more people can spell assistant. It's not as glamorous and you can still use it in your brand, but you're going to need to get assistant, virtual assistant, planner, event planner, coordinator, all those other kinds of words for what you do into your website, into your social, and into your Google so that people don't have to spell concierge. For me, it's entrepreneur. I can't spell it, just can't.
Yeah, I can't spell restaurant either. Is there a directory or an index that people can reference to ensure they're including the appropriate words for an SEO business category? So this goes a little bit deeper than the last thing you answered.
Yes, there are search tools online. You can do SEO keyword search, just type that in, and there are some free tools that pop up that allow you to enter your website, and then based on the type of product and service you sell, they will generate a list for you of keywords. So that's kind of handy. What was the first part of that? It was kind of a two-part question.
No, you're getting me.
What was
Well,
the
the first
first
part was just a directory or index for the words.
Oh, yes.
That was it.
That was the second part I wanted to answer. Your website has built-in tools called SEO and analytics, and might be Yext or Yoast or something with a Y. Your website designer will be able to tell. So if I write a blog story and I give it to my web designer and he pastes it into my website, there are tools in that website that say, you didn't use enough bulleted lists, or you used too big of words. It's only readable at a 12th grade level. We're writing at 8th or 9th. So in your website platform, and I primarily am with WordPress, so I'm not sure that the others offer it free. It's probably an add-on. There will be an SEO package that will help guide you to put the right words in the right places, and make sure that your readability is suitable for your target audience. Just do a SEO keyword search and type that in, and then there's some free tools that you can use. And then generate them yourself. Think like your customer. Ask your customers, how'd you find me? What did you type into the search bar?
Yeah, and if your business name consists of two words that are actually combined together, do they keep tagging the words separately, or what should they do?
Why would you do that?
Oh, don't say that.
I'm sorry. No, I know. Yes, you should use it both ways. You should, and you said tagging. When you tag someone, you don't get any spaces. So a tag is the hashtag symbol and the name of your business, or the at symbol and the name of your business. The reason you tag is because someone else has some way of seeing that, and that tag makes your business accessible to them if they click on the name of it. Now, tags and hashtags on Google, I don't think there's any research. I use hashtags in my Google posts, but in terms of tagging people or businesses or hashtagging in Google, that's really not much of a thing. And if I'm misinterpreting how you're using tag, I apologize. You can do some tagging within your website, which has to do with SEO and readability as well. Different function though.
And going back to running out of money, does Google automatically renew the budget for a new month? If not all the money is used, can it be applied to the new month? Can it carry over? Those are two different questions.
Yep, basically you're going to set up your budget and your timeline. If you tell the ad to end on April 30th, it will end on April 30th and Google will send you a bill. If you tell the ad it can run in infinitum, then it will continue going and Google will either send you a bill when you have reached your $300 limit and then start charging you anew. So if you're on like an auto renewal thing with them, if your ad is still running and you've paid your amount and then you say, go ahead and start it again, they will run it. It doesn't happen often, but I have seen Google get carried away. They ran like $800 worth of ads for a client and everything was set up properly and it was their fault. And they, eventually came clean with it and fixed it. But you have to be in charge of that ad. You've got to check the dates. You've got to check the budgets. You've got to check the schedule of delivery. You've got to make sure that the words, because you know what? Things break. Things break. Your Google ad might get shut off. Don't take it personally. Don't take it personally at all. And you might not get it approved on the first try. Don't take that personally either. Use the SMART campaign and then make sure that you're in control of your budget and you can set up your payment, whether you want it at the first of the month or when you run out of money, in the settings part of the ads platform. So you have total control over when you spend, how much you spend, when your ads run, and when they stop.
Well, oh, wait. One more question from Betsy. Hold on a second. She's had a terrible time setting up my website as a Google site, and she wants to use Google across her platform, emails, G Drive, etc., but can't figure it out. Are there some resources to help her?
Wow, that was like 3 questions. Let me think about it. Your website is one platform. You should have a website whether you even know the word Google or not. So your website is independent. You did say, John, though, the wording is important, a Google website. And that leads me to believe that in the Google platform, the Google My Business platform, there's a button down the side that says website. And if you click on that, Google will make you a brand new website. Now, you still got to put all the stuff in it. So if you have a business website, you don't want Google website. Okay, so that's part 1. If you already have a website, do not use the Google website function within the Google My Business platform. You don't need it. Part number 2 then, analytics and what was the second part of that? I should write these down, but I don't have time. What was the second part?
Well, specifically, it looks like there's a challenge because the person can't use Google for an education service for some reason. I don't know why.
Okay, now you're over my head, but you don't want a business address that ends in gmail.com or a business email that ends in gmail.com. It's okay. But what you want is what you see on the screen here, a branded email that is tied to your website. That is your name at you.com or info@yourbusiness.com. I don't say you don't want to, but I have done the tie business email to Google to Gmail a couple of times and it's never gone very well, honestly. So it's okay to have a Gmail. And once you have a Google account, you're using everything. You just have to open them and use them. You don't have to do anything differently. You've got Gmail, you've got Google Analytics. Stay away from the website. You've got Google My Business. But I would definitely if you have a website, keep that website, keep it going, keep it, and then use the Google for what it's for. And the Gmail's up to you. If that's what your business is capable of having and you want to use that. I just have not had good luck tying clients to the Google Business Suite platform. So that's just my experience. It seems like it's a lot harder than it has to be. And they might be making some updates to make that more user friendly. But that's my golden mix is a website made with WordPress, something really more sophisticated. And then all my Google stuff, and then my Google Analytics tied to my website so that they're measuring what's happening on the website. All right, I had like one or two more questions if I can throw these out here.
Oh, let me do one more.
Okay.
Just one
We
more.
could stay. I mean, I don't have anywhere.
How likely do people click on the ad versus go below and click on the name of your business without the word ad in front of it?
That's funny. It depends on what you think the word ad means. If you think the word ad means you're going to be shown an ad when you click on it, then you probably won't click on it. If you don't want to give your business to the advertiser because, well, they're a big business, they got money advertised, I'm going to move down to number 2 or 3 and do business with local business. That could be another indicator of personality or customer opinion, customer interpretation. So it's a guess. It's just a big guess. The data helps a lot, knowing how many people have clicked on your ad, where they came from, what they did, knowing how many people read your newest blog post, how many people clicked the contact us button on my website to reach out to me after this webinar. Those are the kind of data analytics that are valuable and that can tell you whether what you're doing is working or not, but you have to go back and look at them. You have to set them up and then you have to go back and look at them. Anything else on that?
Nope.
All right, so I had best contact info for Google My Business. Your best contact info would be accurate contact info, including your name, your address, your phone number, your website URL, creating a short name if you can. Creating buzz for an online food business, that's more of an overall marketing, but certainly I would have, if you're allowed to, I'm not sure an online business can actually have a Google page yet, but certainly looking into the tools that we mentioned for determining SEO and Google Trends and things like that, and absolutely Google Analytics if you have a website, an online food business. Getting the right message across. Right now, it's important that we just talk to people and that we just offer the opportunity to have a conversation. We need to instill trust. We need to sound competent and confident. We need to inform people if there are going to be any surprises when they show up at our place of business. And by surprise, it could be anything from reservations required to temperature checks required. On almost all of the accounts I manage, the COVID protocol website page within their website is either 3rd or 4th on the clicks list every month. People still care about that. And that can also be important on the Google My Business page. So you can also blow it up over there. They have places to enter personal affiliations. If you're a women-led, LGBTQ friendly, a veteran-led, a minority-led business, Google gives you the opportunity to show that off. But the whole getting the right message across, you have to know what you want to say and say it in a way that makes people want to listen or read, as it were. And if that requires a professional writer for some of the stuff, then you're probably, well served to find someone who can write using SEO and who can get the content that you need ready for you. Max exposure for your podcast, TikTok. Go TikToking. Go TikTok, go Twitter, go Insta for a podcast for sure. What else do we have? Improve findability for CPA accounting firms. Oh, good question. Target words, key words. So not everyone is going to type CPA or accounting. They're going to type bookkeeping, which isn't the same thing. They're going to type business accounting, business books, business bookkeeping, business bookkeeping without the extra K. So see where I'm going with some creative thought. If you have a CPA or an accounting firm, you could spell accounting wrong. And you could certainly cross over into bookkeeping, even if that's not a service that you provide, because people would find you then by association. Last one, I know we're getting close to, I've already gone over time, forget it. This one, how to increase referrals from other sites. And I wanted to mention this because there's two or three things in here. So one, once you have a Google business profile set up, there's a section called reviews. And someone else wanted to know about reviews, and I want to make sure get this in. You find in that box of all of the things I showed you, it says get more reviews, and you click on that And you can share that opportunity to your social media, but you also could get, if you say email, you can get a link for reviews on your Google business page. And let's be honest, that's where people are looking. They're on Facebook for reviews. And you then use that link on your social pages, at the bottom of your website, on your, once you give a customer a receipt or your follow-up or something, you give them that opportunity to give you a review. For some of my clients, it's built right into the follow-up message at the end of the order. So, if you had a great experience, click here to give us a review. If you didn't, go ahead and you'll see if we can help you. Always respond to reviews. That's one of the ways to increase traffic from other sites. Another way is to be involved with other pages. And this happens to be it says press. So to get referrals from other sites, I'm going to be involved and I'm going to be sharing articles from other pages that are relevant and appropriate for my page, for my social or my web. I'm going to have links to information from some of these other relevant associated organizations in my website. Now, my hope is that they'll link back to me at some point, but they might not. So that's the way to increase referrals, is to make sure that you've got some link there for people to follow back to you. Then you also can buy things. There's Psychology Today or Angie's List or any number of what I call clearinghouses where you can be a member and be one of their posse, if you will. The last thing I wanted to mention, though, is it seems to be really popular to have a big Facebook and Twitter logo and Instagram on our websites. Now, let me think about that for just a minute. So I spent 16 cents or $1.60 on a Google click to get you to my website, to my contact us or my appointment page. And so I'm going to pop up a Facebook and a LinkedIn so you can click those and leave. I don't think so. So actually that just dumbfounded me when I made that connection, and I heard someone else say it. I can't take full credit. Don't put your big old social logos at the top. They're not making you money. Put them at the bottom. People will find you, and it's Facebook. It's just a kind of a dull living, breathing thing right now. There's not a whole lot of action going on over there. So don't send people away from your website to someplace that they can't buy something from you, or you can't make money or get an appointment from them. I think that's all I have. It's been a lot of fun, and I greatly appreciate all of your questions. I think this is the most questions we've ever had on a live webinar. As John mentioned, we'll be sending out a link to the recording. It also has a transcript, and you'll be able to see the links that we mentioned in here today as well. You'll be able to view that at your leisure, and you should get that in the next day or so once it's finished processing. John, anything else?
The only housekeeping things, number one, I put your email address in there as you suggested. Any additional questions that people have, they should go ahead and contact you directly. Also, I put in there information again on our third of the 3 series, which will be on July 8th from 1 to 2:40. There's a link in there to go and register. We hope that you do. And other than that, I think we're pretty much done.
All right. It's been fun. Go score. Don't forget, if you need a mentor, score.org, and you can find someone to help you just like me. All right. Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye.